Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome to our first ever Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom, a Survivor Speaks series, interview series. It's not our first interview series, I should say that, but it is our first time going live in this way. So I'm super excited and looking forward to sharing with you one of our survivors who will be sharing their stories. You all are in for a treat. And so definitely make sure that you share, that you like this post, because you just never know who will benefit from what you all will hear today. I want to invite you all to join. Let's see, it looks like we have some comments. Hello, Cherish. Hey, sis. Hey, girl, you got this. Thanks for joining us. We have want to invite you all to visit our website, Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom. Visit us at SCAWINC.org. Follow us on all the social media platforms at SCAWINC. And of course, if you want to contact me, sis, go ahead and do so. Just just type in Keesha Carter at SCAWINC.org. All right. More to come. Make sure you visit our website. There's a lot of amazing things coming up in 2024. You want to make sure you're a part of it, especially if you are connected in the cancer community in any way, shape, or form, especially within the gynecologic cancer community. So without further ado, because I don't want to belabor or keep you all too long today, I want to bring on our special guest. All right, are y'all ready? We have our special guest, Miss Christy Chambers. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm looking forward to hearing your story and all of the amazing things that you're doing within the gynecologic cancer community, cervical cancer community. So before I get started, I would love to have a quick introduction. So if you can tell us where you're from and let us know just a little bit about who Christy Chambers is. And then we'll get into
Absolutely.
your story part.
Sure. I live in Monroe, North Carolina. For those of you not familiar with North Carolina, it's about 25 miles east of Charlotte. It's a small town, a more rural county than Charlotte and Charlotte-Mecklenburg is. I have a husband. I have a now 13-year-old. He just turned 13 Friday, which is crazy, and a dog. And we live in a big historic home in downtown Monroe. And I work for a local small business there that is women owned, and it's a lot of fun. I've actually worked there for many years. When my kiddo was in preschool, I used to work there, so I've been there for about 8 or 9 years now. But I came from a theater background. And did quite a bit of theater in the Charlotte area until we moved out to Union County. And then that kind of decreased a little bit because at the time I was expecting my kiddo and it was the distance and whatnot. So I'm just sort of getting involved again here and there. So, but yeah, I've always been in creative arts of some kind. Um, Even with the boutique that I work at now, I do a lot of their visual displays and social media and photographs and things. So that hasn't left. I've always kind of continued to do that. So
Wow. I love it. I love your fashion. You always, every time I see you, you have on the funky glasses, which are, I just love it. I love bling. I love anything that's fashionable, and you absolutely rock it. So I wanted to
oh,
definitely say that.
thank you.
You're welcome, Christy. So let's get into the reason why we're here. First of all, some people may or may not know, but January is right around the corner and it is Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. Some people call it CCAM for short, or Cervical Health Awareness Month. So you may hear those interchangeably, but we want to make sure that you're taking some time out to learn more about your bodies, ladies. Absolutely, from ages 18 to 65, learn more about your bodies. But January is that month where we want to encourage you to get your pap smears. We want to encourage you to find more about learn more about HPV, the human papillomavirus, as well as the screenings. Okay, so if you don't know, of course, you can learn more about it through Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom. Google your doctors, talk to your sisters, your mamas, your friends, right? Your aunts, your cousins, your daughters. Have these conversations because you just may save someone's life. Anything you want to say about January?
Well, I do want to add that obviously the majority of cervical cancers are caused by HPV, and American Cancer
Mm-hmm.
Society is recommending now that we can do HPV vaccinations as early as 9. And I like to tell people, I know some people are wary about vaccinations, but I say you need to think of this one as cancer prevention. Boys, girls, doesn't matter. They don't need to be, sexually active. It can prevent all kinds of HPV, forms of HPV that cause other cancers aside from cervical cancer. So if it's
Mm-hmm.
an option or you have questions, please talk to your doctors. My son just got his HPV vaccine last month, so he's good
Mm-hmm.
to go.
And we've been through it. We don't
Mhm.
want you all to endure anything that we've experienced. It is no fun, and
Yeah.
it'll change your life, but you don't want to change your life in that way. I guarantee you. So definitely, this upcoming January, you're going to hear more from us, but also some of the resources that will be shared today. We want to make sure that you take some time to check them out so that you can learn more. Um, in addition to the awesome information that Chrissy just shared. Okay, so what happened, Chrissy? How did you become a part of this cancer community? How, when, like, what's your story?
Sure. I was, this has been a hard but really quick journey. I say that because I was actually just diagnosed in 2022. So just last year, in
Mm,
May, I am in my 50s. So honestly, I thought irregular cycle and things that was feeling was just menopause. And so to be fair, I didn't go to get screened. I was just like, oh, it's just menopause. I'm going through the change. But then things got a little dire, and I had a lot of excessive bleeding. So I went to my primary care, and they did a PAP, and they saw some things and went, you really should go to your gyno and schedule a colposcopy. And I did. And when I went for the colposcopy, I could tell by my gynecologist's face that he suspected something. He would not, of course, say because they hadn't had lab results. But I think he knew. And so I tell people my unofficial cancerversary date is May 18th, which was the day I had the colposcopy. Um, and of course, it
mm,
came back as being cancerous. So uh, I was fortunate to get in right away with a gynecological oncologist. And I was staged initially at stage 1B3, so the higher stage one, but totally workable. We were going to do a basic accepted course of um, low dose chemotherapy and external radiation, and then we were looking at the possibility of internal radiation or brachytherapy as well. And I think, like anybody would, when someone says you have cancer, I started pushing on the schedule super hard, and I was calling every day and trying to get everything scheduled and just move it along because I wanted
mm,
it out. Just wanted to be done. And I got into radiology and was doing appointments there, and we were looking at getting set up for that. But radiology said, we're missing a scan. We really need that scan so we can be better at targeting where that radiation is. And so I went for the scan and I didn't hear anything and I didn't hear anything. So I started calling again, and radiology got back to me and he says, well, you've heard from your team, right, from oncology. And I said, no. And he asked me to come in. So I thought, oh, this can't be good. And it turns out, because I had not yet had the scan, they found more cancer. It had already
Mm.
metastasized. And so I had
Wow.
cancer in up in this area here, in the neck, and then also in the armpit area down here. So
Mm.
instead of being stage 1, I was actually stage 4. Um, so yeah, it
Wow.
was very dramatic and a huge difference if you follow, the numbers, which I
Mm-hmm.
kind of try to ignore. But
Right.
things were definitely going to change on how we approach treatment and what could actually
Yeah.
be done because it had essentially already spread. So yes,
Wow.
very dramatic.
It is one of those things that to hear the word alone is a challenge, and also, learning about the different stages. It's a lot of information that comes at us. Um, um, Sorry, I didn't see Sister Donita. Hey, Tanya. Thank you, ladies, for joining. It's just one of those things that it's hard to put into words unless you've actually experienced it yourself. Um, what was that experience like for you when they said the C word, and like mentally and emotionally, what was that experience like for you?
Oh, I think, what initially, because I am a mother, I
Mm-hmm.
that's really, it wasn't that I didn't worry about how my husband would feel, but there's that part of you, and I think, oh my gosh, like what's going to happen to him? I've got to be here for him.
Yeah.
I've got to get him at least, through high school. And you sort of, um, you question a lot of things, and then you start thinking,
Yes.
well, okay, if I'm not going to be here, how are we going to handle this? How are we going to handle this? And it's hard to sort of not go off the deep end. Um, but to be fair, none of us ever really, I think, truly entertain our mortality in that way and think, well, okay, I've got this much longer and that's it. And so it sort of sends you into a panic for sure. Um, and then
Mm.
you kind of go through this whole to be fair, I think to me it's a little bit like grieving. You had sort of a
Mm-hmm.
life design and planned out,
Absolutely.
and it's probably not going to happen exactly as you planned it. And you sort of start to grieve the ideas, the what ifs. Well, what if, or I was going to do this, or I was going to do that. And so you kind of beat yourself down a little bit, which is really frustrating because that's the last thing that you need. But I think
Yeah,
that's a very human response, right? To just kind of
absolutely.
start thinking, listing all those things you haven't done yet. So um, I kind of got through that. And of course, initially when I thought I was stage 1, we were like, okay, we're good. We can handle this. This is doable. My husband was a great support for me. Um, but then when I was told 4, um, we truly had to sort of to be honest, we kind of shut ourselves in the house for a day or two and turned off
Mm.
social media and didn't really want to chat with anybody and really sat with it and thought, well, what does that mean? And,
Mm.
what are all the possibilities? And to be fair, I mean, it was kind of a dark day or two. Um, but we went through everything, thought of everything that we could, made a list of other questions that we could ask medical staff. And then sort of at the end of those 2 days, we went, all right, well, we have to get up and fight. We don't have a choice. And so we kind of came through it. Um, I won't say every day after that was a sunny day, but I have gotten progressively better and faster at getting
Mm-hmm.
out of those dark moments and moving on.
Mm.
I still acknowledge them, but I have to move on and stay hopeful.
Yes. I would love to explore that some more because I know that is one of the challenging things for anyone dealing with any chronic illness. But, from our perspective, from a cancer perspective, like that mental and emotional. That's why I asked the mental and emotional, because
Yeah.
one thing that I haven't heard over the last 14 years since I was went through my own experience is I haven't heard a whole lot of conversation around um, mental health. And so just, I feel like it's important that people who is going through it and people who have not faced it, who may see their loved ones going through it, understand that there's some things that would be helpful to break through, to work through mentally and emotionally and even spiritually to help you get through, that contributes to hope, that contributes to enduring, that contributes to even your healing. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Were there was there any like striking symptoms? Were there any symptoms that brought um, you to the doctor or that um, caused you to find out more about what was going on with your body?
Sure. I mean, for me, I had my cycle had become less regular over like 2000, 2021 for sure. And that's why I just assumed it was menopause. And then I had two incidents of extreme heavy bleeding. And that's what led me to
Mm,
make the appointment because that had never happened to me before. I was fortunate. I didn't really experience any like constant pain or nagging pain like that. I was having some issues with uh, sort of, I guess, lightheadedness or dizziness. Um,
mm-hmm.
and all these things, a lot of these things fit, unfortunately, right into the idea of menopause. So I was kind of like,
Yes.
so it was a little bit difficult for me. And honestly, um, the pap smear was so the way to go. And I was overdue, unfortunately. So I encourage everybody to please, please get your pap smears. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, it was kind of no big secret. I don't have a history of cervical cancer in my family. There are other cancers in my family, but yeah, it was mostly the heavy bleeding and the lightheadedness. But like I said, part of me was like, menopause. And so I wouldn't have gone right away. Now, with knowing what I know and about what signs to look for, yes, I should have gone much sooner. I realize now, oh,
Mm.
I experienced that or that. And um, so I certainly regret that, but that is also why I share my story and try and encourage other people to stay on it because cervical cancer, especially with regular screenings, if it's caught early, it's totally, something that is treatable and we can kind of work our way through. Later stages
Right.
in all of the gynecological cancers, it gets much more difficult to treat.
It's highly preventable, and that's why it's
Yes.
like we want to go on a rampage and get this word out because if you take some time. I know it's not comfortable. I know it's, not something that people even want to talk about. Anything below the belt is a challenge for anyone to talk about, but
Yes.
especially women. So it's just as you share your story, and I'm sure if you haven't it already, at some point someone's gonna come to you and say, "I'm so glad you shared your story because I went to the doctor and they found cells, some abnormal cells on my cervix." I've heard that so
Mhm.
many times, and so if you're listening and you are hesitant about sharing your story, you don't know whose life you may be saving. You don't know. I mean, that's why it's so important and imperative that we share our stories. So I'm grateful for our special guest. Hello, cousin Chris Baker, sending love. Thank you so much for your love. Thank you for joining us today. Please take a moment um, and um, to like, share, and let us know where you all are from. Definitely share because there is a lot of ladies who's unaware of this information. We have January, like I said earlier, January is Cervical Health Awareness Month. It is right around the corner. And so we want you to, if you don't get a chance to share this post today, this will be reposted in January for Cervical Health Awareness Month. And so we want to make sure that you take some time, even then, to share this post. Not this one, it's going to be reposted and it's going to also be on our YouTube channel. So we want to make sure that you take some time to share this post as well as come back and visit our Facebook pages, our social media pages, because you never know who may need to hear this information. So I believe this one will be episode 2 and posted on January 7th, Sunday, January 7th. Hello, Lindsay, one of our fellow survivors. Good afternoon, ladies, she says. Good afternoon, Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited since she popped in. I didn't put her flyer in the queue, but if you're following our page, definitely take a look at some of the events that are coming up. And Lindsay is having a grand opening and a cervical cancer awareness event in Shelby, North Carolina. So if you're in around Shelby, North Carolina, make sure you check it out. Hello, hello. You might want to do a car pull and come out with us together. Hello, Karen. Grateful afternoon to you also. Thank you for joining. Make sure you share this. Okay. So, Christy,
Yes.
I know you mentioned that you were diagnosed with stage 4. So are you currently in treatment right now? Has you know what is going on with your care at this time?
Sure. I am very fortunate that I am currently NED. So no, yeah, no evidence of
Woo!
disease.
Y'all, that's
Um,
huge.
yes, yes. It was a rocky journey though, and
Can you
I
say what is
chose,
NED for those who don't know?
sure, no evidence of disease. So until you reach a certain point in your cancer treatment and your exams, where you're, say, I think it's five years NED,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you can officially say you're in remission. So right now we
Yes.
say NED because they cannot currently find cancer in my system, which is amazing. Um,
Yes, God is great, Lindsay.
Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay. Absolutely. Um, I just got released too from my eye doctor this month. So what I mean by that is one of the things that happened to me during treatment briefly is I started down the traditional path of low dose chemotherapy and radiation. And because we knew then that we were going to have to go after these areas up here, we decided to pursue immunotherapy, um, which I highly recommend investigating and looking into as an option. That is the option that I chose. However, I was supposed to do 4 doses. I did 2, and then we realized that it was affecting my eyesight and it was causing double vision. So until recently, I had double vision since October of 2022. It has finally resolved in December. Just a few weeks ago, I got my okay from my doctor that I was good to go and I didn't have to
That's
wear any
awesome.
corrective lenses and I could go get to my regular eye doctor and get an eye exam. So we are on track. Yeah, it's been a journey. But what that also means for me personally is most folks are usually on maintenance of some kind, whether that a lot of people will do
Mm-hmm.
Keytruda, Avastin, things like that. We are
Mm-hmm.
currently not on any maintenance because those drugs are all part of the same drug family that my immunotherapy was part of. And we don't know how my particular body will react to that. So we're just kind of playing it by ear. I'm happy
Mm-hmm.
to say I've been NED since May, and just had a scan in November, and we'll have my next one in February. So far, grateful and good, and yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
doing really well.
Yay! I'm so glad to hear that. And I know we talk about it, but hearing your story again, I forget certain things, And so hearing it again, it was like I was hearing it for the first time because I think when you see someone ring the bell, when you hear that your NED, it just does something to me. It does
Yeah.
something to me, and it just, I get overwhelmed with joy and gratitude that you are, have gotten that great news. So I know you mentioned earlier that you have had a history of cancer in your family, because I know one of the things that I like to mention is for everybody to find out as much as you can about um, what is going on with your family medical history. And so I think it's so important that we have that conversation. I didn't see this. Hey, Lindsay said, yes, yes, celebrate all wins, no matter how little or how large. Absolutely. So tell me, tell me more or tell us more about your family history. And do you think that there's any relationship with what you know about your family history?
Sure. I have not done genetic testing, but definitely at this point, it is something that I would definitely want to pursue to just sort of double check and see, are there other precursors, other things in my genetic makeup that indicate that there may be issues for my son in the future? Because obviously, I don't want that for him. Oddly, last year was a tough year for our family. I was going through my cervical cancer treatment, and my dad had prostate cancer, and he was going through radiation at the same time as me. So we had quite a year.
Wow.
He is awesome. He just had a checkup, no sign of disease there. But my
Okay.
mother actually passed away from liver cancer about,
Mm.
oh goodness, about 11 years ago. Um, and that was not anything that we were aware of that ran in the family. Um, but yeah, once that happened, and then when I got cancer, I was like, okay, this may be something that I really do need to
Mm.
check out. And so yeah, genetic testing is something that I do want to look at, um, just to sort of rule out anything and make sure, so
Mm-hmm.
that we can kind of have the best health plan for my kid, so that he is aware of possibilities. That is,
Absolutely.
though, to my knowledge, the only cancer that we had in our family. Um, but yeah, like I said, dad is good, and yeah, we're both doing great. It was just real interesting to
Mm.
have to go through that at the same time, and he lives
Right.
very far away, so our support was largely texting and calling because he was out in California and I'm all the way on the East Coast, so
Mm.
we couldn't really like visit or see each other. So we did a lot of Zooms and a lot of texting, um, to just kind of
Wow.
keep in touch and sort of keep each other, buoyed up. So
What kind of connection, for a son, oh, excuse me, a father daughter connection, for C, cancer being that commonality at a
yeah,
time where, it's tough, where you want that support, you want, of course, the love and encouragement and all of that. What was that like? I know my next question to you is about your support team. So, if you can add to that afterwards, how you mentioned your husband, your son, what was that like? How did it feel for you to have that support? Was it helpful, or were there other individuals or organizations that were supportive for you?
sure. Um, he was a massive cheerleader for me. He really was. He was constantly reminding
Wow.
me to, stay positive, and I was doing the same for him too. Um, so that was certainly helpful. We're a pretty close family, so we're very touchy-feely and huggy, and so I wasn't shy about telling him, things that were going on with treatment, and nor he was very willing to share, and so um, kind of in a weird way, having that shared journey was
Hmm.
sort of supportive because there was somebody who I was already very close to that I could kind of talk to about certain medical things or certain things that I was
Hmm.
feeling. So that was very helpful. To be fair, in the beginning, when I was first diagnosed, though, I knew no one. I kind of like put some feelers out. I was unfortunately not aware of your organization yet.
Yeah.
Um, and so I had typed into the computer because I couldn't find anybody local. And I typed into the computer cervical cancer charity because I figured if I could find that, surely there's an organization tied to it. And
Right.
I found survivor.org, that's CERVIVOR. And I also found NCCC. I always get that one wrong. I don't know why, but I do. Um, and then, so that was very helpful. But of course, um, at the time, I didn't know anybody locally. but they were a great connection. Survivor was with information. They had lots of information. They had lots of stories posted online, and that was helpful. They're cataloged even to the point where you can type in a region or type in an age or type in whatever type of cancer, and the stories that pop up will be easily relatable to what you're going through. That was very helpful too. But early on, because I'm a lot on social media a lot and around my local town a lot, we realized that if I wasn't going to be at work, people were going to wonder, what's going on. And so I was trying to decide on a way to notify everybody of what was going on and the treatment and everything. And so I ended up making a private Facebook page and sharing the link and just saying, if you'd like to join, here's the page. Because I also didn't want to force my story on anybody. Um, Now I'm less hesitant. I probably will force my story on people because I think there's lessons to be learned there. But in the beginning, I sort of built my own Facebook group and essentially my own support group. These people have been instrumental in, giving me a laugh when I need it, prayers, positive vibes, just helpful,
Mm.
uplifting words. Some even, oh goodness, when I was right in the core of treatment, I mean, we got meal gift cards and meals delivered. And I mean, and some of these folks, to be quite honest, I know they're in my county and in my town. I still haven't met some of them in person. And that kind
Mm.
of support and generosity is um, so needed, but also honestly in a little sort of overwhelming as well, because these were
Yeah.
just total strangers essentially who were helping me and who were rooting for me, and
Mm.
that's really sort of spearheaded then what I realized um, that's sort of what I needed to do, that to stay hopeful and to be joyful in the face of what was going on, that I needed to sort of spread that hope and joy to other people. And so I started
Mhm.
a little outreach program as well, where I give out, it's a bracelet, it's a little elastic bracelet, kind of like this. But I had put notes on them and I just left them initially at oncology and radiology labs. And it just said, my name's Christy. I'm fighting stage 4 cervical cancer. This is a reminder that no one fights alone. Um,
Mhm.
and that's
Wow.
kind of grown into my outreach program. And again, for me personally, I found that to stay positive and be supported, for me, I had to do that for other people. So by giving joy, I got joy. By giving hope, I got hope. And it just
Yes.
kind of, cycles around like that. And that is why I always say, choosing hope daily is kind of, if I had to, uh, kind of get it all in a nutshell, sort of my theory on life, on living, on going through cancer, that's it right there, that we have a choice. And
Mhm.
sometimes, some days, it's a hard choice, trust me.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
you've got to choose hope daily. If you don't have that, it's a very dark place to be, and it's a much harder journey. And if you can find those moments, those small moments of joy, of happiness, of hope,
Mhm.
um, it's going to help sustain you and get you through something like this. Not just cancer, but I mean life itself.
Yes.
It's a
Mhm.
philosophy that I think is so important. And like I said, it is a choice. And sometimes we have to kind of train ourselves to make that choice because sometimes it's hard. But yeah, so my support group has increased in size, but it started as self-made and then ended up spreading, and I'm happy to share it with other people. And of course, Survivor has been a huge lifeline. And I finally got to meet many of the survivors in person, and that was major too. So I will say, ladies out there, if you are having issues with cervical cancer, find your support networks. They can be online, they can be an organization like Keisha's. They could be also, there's another organization in the Charlotte area, Teal Diva. Um, but if you can ever meet up with people in person, I highly recommend it. The online communities are amazing and so helpful, but there is also something very special about being in the same space as somebody who has gone through this journey. Um, those conversations are more meaningful. And frankly, half the time you don't even have to say anything because you know what they've been through. And those relationships
Mhm.
can be um, really rich and really helpful um, in the just in your life, but also in spreading the word, in getting your story out there, and essentially in helping you advocate um, to end cervical cancer. So I
Yes.
cannot recommend support groups online or in person enough.
It changed my life. Like as soon as I had that first connection, where I was around other survivors, I was like, wow. I remember like just the it was I went to I was in the Cure by Design fashion show. That was I think my first like outside no, it was the calendar. I was in the Novant calendar and that like gathering and seeing other people, you know, and connecting with other people, that got me. And then the fashion show, and then I met Shannon, who's the founder of Till Diva, and went to her luncheon. It was a room full of gynecologic cancer survivors. It just, I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, like these ladies understand me, they get me. And sometimes when you're going through, you need that support. So, I thank you for sharing those. If you're watching the replay, in the chat, I have put the links to survivor.org, the National Cervical Cancer Coalition, nccc.org. I believe I might have that one incorrect. So I'll go back and fix that one because I think it's dash online or something. I'm not sure. But
I
uh,
think it is.
yeah, so that one might be incorrect. I'll go back and fix that one later. And tilldiva.org, it's so important that we make those connections. I want to go back to one. Lindsay said, going back to our comments, I thought I had my water here and it's not. So excuse me.
Oh,
Um, glory to God, you still have your dad. Absolutely.
indeed, indeed.
What an amazing story. Like I'm just taken away with the fact that you went through that together. She was like, yes, find your people, definitely meaningful and very helpful. So, when you were diagnosed and were going through treatment, I like how proactive you were in reaching out to organizations, seeking out organizations on your own. However, we do have doctors and nurses, a nurse navigator who is to help us navigate us through this whole journey. Where, or even with anybody else that you may know in the community, were you offering any programs or services to help you with your treatment program or cost or, you know, the price of the medical bills or anything like that?
Right, right. So for me, I think it was difficult because I did most of my treatment in Charlotte. And so, a lot of the information that was given to me was obviously, for the Charlotte area. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, to my knowledge, looking back through my little packet, because they give you literally a binder of information, which is a little
Right.
overwhelming, but aside from sort of essential, like American Cancer Society was in there, which is awesome. I'm a member of ASCAN, but that's not specific to my cancer. They had a couple of little pamphlets about, gynecological health and other things, but to my knowledge, I don't remember anything in there that pointed me directly to a support group that was specific to me. And that's what I was missing. I mean, they even had information in there for uh, they have a wig lending library, if you will, which is awesome. But a lot of us who have cervical cancer don't necessarily have hair loss because we don't do a higher dose chemo. So it was like, well, that's
Mm-hmm.
nice, but not terribly helpful. What I have found, though, which is really good, is when I was working on getting Union County to proclaim January Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, they came to me and said, that our public health department in Union County has a program for breast and cervical cancer screening
Mm-hmm.
for people who
Mm-hmm.
need financial assistance. And I said, no, I had no idea. So that is something I definitely have begun to talk about because um, I don't ever want anybody to be in a financial position where they feel like they cannot take care of their health. That's, I mean, I we can't. I mean, if you look at statistics, because this obviously is a gynecological cancer, it affects women who are largely, many of them are mothers already. And once you remove a mother out of a household, whether it's due to lots of treatment or unfortunately death, the children don't thrive. So it's so important to me to make sure that people have screening, that we can get free screenings if possible, or low cost screenings, because we need to keep families intact and we need to keep women alive. I mean, it's just that simple. We're the backbone of society. And so I wish that more had been information had been given to me. But now that I know about these programs, I do bring Teal Diva postcards, survivor pamphlets, and whatever I can to my gynecological oncologist office and drop them in and encourage them to, put them in patient packets. I've given some to my radiologist who is local to me in Monroe and said, can you please put these in patients' packets? Because it was information that was lacking, I thought. But it's out there. Those organizations are out there. Your organization is out there. And so there's no reason in our area for people not to know about this. So I'm very,
Absolutely.
yeah, proactive on trying to get that information out and shared because it's so necessary to have
It is.
somebody, some place to reach out to. But the financial aid programs that really, I was thrilled to find out that that was an option in Union County. I was very fortunate with my insurance coverage that I had very few hiccups. But that is not the case for most people. Cancer
Right.
is very expensive. um, and things happen along the way that you don't necessarily, you're not prepared for, certainly not financially prepared for. Um, and the last thing that someone needs is to worry about, am I going to pay the light bill? How am I going to pay my mortgage and things like that? That is one
Mm-hmm.
thing I will add. Teal Diva has a program called Yes Girl.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually part of
Mm-hmm.
what they do. You can apply, and if maybe it's just your yard needs mowed, or you need some things painted, or the roof needs repaired, and you can
Mm-hmm.
apply, and Teal Diva will pay for it, and they will have a volunteer crew there that comes out and takes
Mm-hmm.
care of those things for you so that you can focus on your treatment and not have to worry about those things. And so that's a program that I really adore because I think that's so necessary. Um,
Right.
you've got to
The
focus
survivor
your
support.
energy. Yes,
The
yes,
survivor support. Like that's what I love about um the organizations that I'm aware of, and that's survivor does survivor support and helping them share their stories, helping them have a community. Till Diva, like you said, the Yes Girl, going to patients' homes and helping them with things that they cannot do because they're in treatment, or they may not have the funds because of treatment. And like our Adopt a Survivor program with Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom, it's so important that, a lot of people always want to fund research. That is so important. Please don't get me wrong. It is so important. What is also important is that we support those who are going through it right now in real time.
yes.
There everybody doesn't have a whole big family or lots of friends to come and support them, or come to help them at home, or to even go with them to their doctor's appointments. So this right here, survivor support and caregiver support, they are like near and dear to my heart, because people forget about the caregivers. They need a break too. They need someone to talk to too. So
Yeah.
that right there is so near and dear to my heart. That's why we do exactly what we do with our Adopt a Survivor program, because of that. Christy mentioned this is why she does what she does. A lot of times we do not have that, purpose or these plans for our lives because we haven't been impacted. But I guarantee once you're impacted, whether directly or by a loved one, it becomes like a mission that is hard to get away from, because you want to help other people again not go through what you went through. Um, Lindsay also said, right, there wasn't the resources, the information. There, they did not have, if I'm not mistaken, if they had it, I don't think they had, when I 14 years ago, they didn't have the VSTEP program. And now they have Medicaid for breast and cervical cancer. So that right there, I was like, what? They didn't have that when I went through. Those resources are out there. All right. Bridget said, both of you ladies are incredible and such an inspiration. Thanks for all you do in spreading hope, joy, and love. Love seeing both of you live. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
thank
joining
you.
us today, Bridget. Lindsay says, same thing here in Cleveland County, going back to again the resources that you mentioned. She said she found out after the fact. And that's crazy. That happens to so many people after the fact. We need this
Yeah,
information now. And so that's why I love what Christy said. Sometimes we wait for other people to get us the information. You don't have to. You can ask questions on your own. Google is our best friend. You know, there are some um some things we find out through word of mouth. So open your mouth. What they say, closed mouth don't get fed. The same thing, you know, ask questions, find out, like while you're at the doctor, talk with the nurses, talk with the receptionist, talk to other patients that are coming in. Hey, have you ever heard of X, Y, and Z? So contact your local health department regarding breast. I know I don't have it here exactly right, because I always mess up the acronym, but it's BSEP, the Breast Cancer and Cervical Cancer Program. I'm not sure, or I can't remember, but I'm gonna put it in the chat. I'll have it right for you all. I always forget it, and I should have written it down, but that's neither here nor there. But contact the local health department. Why not use the free resources that are available to you, especially if you have challenges with your insurance company? So, um, I know, Chrissy, this has is very fresh for you, going through cancer. It's very fresh for you as far as finishing treatment. So, I always like to ask about your life after cancer journey because some people think, "Oh, I ring the bell, I'm done, it's finished." uh, Life after cancer is, I feel like we're just beginning when you ring the bell. It's a whole nother experience. So what has life after cancer, after ringing the bell for you, after NED, no evidence of disease, what has that been for you?
oh goodness. Um, so yeah, you're right. People are like, oh, you're done. Well, yes and no. There's still a lot of physical after effects from treatment. Um, things are not physically the same as they were, or like my stamina is still not, where it was 2 years ago. But those are all things that I can work towards. Absolutely. Um, I think, uh, gosh, for me, it was getting more involved in Survivor, and really becoming an advocate. And I say that because I I apparently was advocating before I knew I was advocating when I was doing my bracelets and handing things out and sort of sharing my
Yes,
story, not realizing that that was all part of an advocacy footprint. So I have gone to Survivor Runs the Survivor School, where we, gosh, get lectures and meetings with experts and doctors and people, in all different fields in, in American Cancer Society, but also people who um, work, interestingly, with like computer programs that are showing us where, where cancer is prevalent and how we can maybe more effectively address those areas with getting education and vaccinations there. So that was sort of formalizing my advocacy has definitely happened. Um, and I mean, let's be real, I'm not shy anyway, but I will tell my story at the drop of a hat. If I think, well, it's not even if I think, because I know it can save somebody's life.
hmm
So it's much easier for me to do that. It was sort of easy in the beginning, but it's gotten a lot, I can usually just jump out there and do it. Um, and I've been working at different programs and trying to build, trying to find uh, the gynecological cancer folks in my county. And I say that because there's still,
hmm
unfortunately, such a stigma attached to gynecological cancer. And so people don't talk about it. And that, and by not talking about it, it's not doing anybody a service, because if we don't speak about it, no one will pay attention to it and go out and get their screenings and do the things that they need to
Right.
do to end what is honestly a preventable cancer. So, advocacy is a huge part of what I'm doing. And then, honestly, too, just really finding when you go through something like this, you sort of realize all of the things that you can let go of. There are things that suddenly you always thought were important or that you needed to work for, that you suddenly realize in the long run, they don't matter. And I talk
Mm-hmm.
about that in one of my newsletters about, we always talk about, like, I mean, I hate to say it, but like at a funeral, we go through and we talk about all the things that they did or who they were. And these are wonderful things, but I realized for me that I want to do those things before I pass on. And I say that
Yes.
I want to live a legacy, not leave one. Obviously, I'm going to leave one, but the idea that I can be a voice of change and make a difference while I'm living. Um, and so that has really become a big focus of how I live and how I do my advocacy and the choices that I make on a daily basis.
I love that. Live a legacy and not just leave one. Is that what you said? Or not leave
Mhm.
one?
Not just leave one.
I love that,
It's all
y'all.
about that the dash, right? Living the dash in
Yes,
between the birth date and the death date. So it's what you do with that.
that is so important that we understand. And I'm gonna just put that up there. We wanna live a legacy and not just leave one. I meant to put Christy Chambers after that, not have to do that later. But live a legacy and not just leave one, right? We got to, y'all. We must. Lindsay says, love it. Yes, we do, y'all. We have to. And I love, because that's one of my questions is how, what are you doing in the community, cancer community? Because some people are like, it's literally a life changer, once you are diagnosed. Um, so I want to put this back up there because I want y'all to see this. This is a quote I'm going to make sure we put up there again. Live a legacy, not just leave one. Yes. So it's important that we think about what can we contribute to the cancer community because we all have a voice. We all have a story, and it's so important that we share. So thank you for sharing in the capacity that you contribute to the cancer community. I would love to ask you a question. What do
Mhm.
you wish they told you either before, during, or after treatment? Like what you
Oof.
wish they would have told you.
I think so much of like so those of you who don't know, when you go to do chemotherapy, they put you, they say chemo class, or uh, basically they sit you down with the chemo pharmacist and they kind of go through the possibilities of things that could happen as side effects. So much of that, to be honest, though, is just kind of glazed over. Same with radiation, radiology, and they glaze over some things and go, this might happen, or this might happen, or sometimes they don't tell you some of the things that might happen. I know this is because they desperately want to treat you and want you to accept treatment, but there has to be a way to better inform the patient of all the possibilities without scaring them to death, and hopefully they will still choose treatment for. And I say this because, like, um, radiation, for example, that messes up your digestive system. Like I can't. If you haven't been through it, it's just a lot. And things don't work the same. And suddenly, like, you have to know where every bathroom is located because you might need it. And like, there's
Woo!
no, we don't hold on, we can't hold on to it like we used to. So I mean, it's insane. And that is something that they didn't go into thorough detail about. Like I said, I think it's because they don't want to scare you, but I'm just saying.
Yes.
It would
Lindsay
have been
says
nice to
right,
know,
right.
right? It would have been nice to know these things. And then oddly enough, the one thing that was never mentioned to me, and this I find stunning, um, in all of the paperwork that I have, I've looked back over most of it just to make sure that I'm not crazy. I saw nothing about pelvic floor therapy. And I mention this because even if you're not having surgery, like I did not have a hysterectomy, but let me tell you something, when you go in there with radiation and chemotherapy and you kill tumors, you change the internal landscape of the body. And pelvic floor therapy would still have been helpful, even though I did not have a knife. Um, it also would
Mm-hmm.
have been helpful, honestly, post radiation, because that would have helped with that problem too. So that is one thing. I don't know why, but I feel like it was never talked about, and it's kind of important. It needs to be
Yeah.
discussed because, also, frankly, too, the pelvic floor therapy is also key if you have an active life with your partner. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
affects all of that. Things are not the
Yes.
same as they were pre-cancer. And those are all important things to help you have a healthy relationship, you know, with your own body, but also with other people if that's what you're looking to do. Like, yeah, so pelvic floor therapy is a big one, and side effects of
Mm-hmm.
radiation
Oh my
more
gosh. You
thoroughly
named
discussed.
you named some really good ones. Let me tell you. I thought, okay. You named some really good ones because they I talk a lot about PFT. I call it PFT for short, for pelvic floor therapy. And um even we have a private group for gynecologic cancer survivors called PFT Sisterhood. And it's so important that we talk about it within the cancer community, but even as women, I'm like,
Yeah.
I never knew this was out here. Like, there are so many women that have incontinence and even sexual dysfunction or any other like things related to below the belt. That's why, as Christy was sharing, we gotta get, and I say this all the time, we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable talking about our vaginas. Like, our this is a part of us, and there's so much that goes, so much of who we are can be improved based on what we learn about below the belt. You know,
Mhm.
some people hold stress in from their waist down, and your life, I mean, the quality of life could be so much different if we learn more about below the belt. So many different, I mean, we could go a whole nother hour just talking about PFC. It's so important. So I love that. And what you said about radiation, oh my gosh, like that's a whole nother hour. Just not understanding that. And I learned about, I'm going back to PFT. I learned about it after treatment, and it was real quick introduced about one of the strategies that they have for us, and but they didn't know much information. Much more information has come out since then, thank God, but it's still not something that is talked about in understanding. Once you finish treatment, what does that look like for you as far as your daily routine and your
Yeah.
life, and how do you connect with your partner? So that is some good stuff, Chrissy. Some good stuff. Um, we are coming to the end, y'all, of this amazing interview. I have one more question for our guests. If y'all have questions, please put them in the chat. I would love to see if you have any questions. It looks like, is it Nymphia? She says,
Yes,
"Hi, Christy, Bassa Chambers."
hi.
Am I saying it right, Bassa? Is it Bassa?
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you. She said hi.
So
So,
Nymphia is
as
one of a survivor in St. Lucia. She's
oh,
watching from St. Lucia.
really?
Yeah.
Hey, Nymphia, nice meeting you. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you share this because somebody just may need to hear it. Thank you so much. So, if I have two questions, well, I actually want to ask you three because of something you said earlier. What message would you like to share with the community or to women who are apprehensive about going to the doctor?
Oh, um, oh gosh. I mean, I regret that I did not go sooner. I could have saved myself a lot. I could have definitely been stage one and kind of, had an easier road for treatment. So it is so important that you take care of yourself. And I know it is uncomfortable, but one of my friends said, make it a party. And I said, what? And she said, all of your girlfriends schedule together, go do your thing, and then go out to lunch. She said, make it a fun occasion. And I thought about it. I thought, well, okay, I sort of see her point. But it's just, your body best. And you know when something is maybe not right or feels off or feels different. And it's important to address that as soon as you can with a medical professional. Um, I just can't stress that enough. I mean, cervical cancer is not the only thing that could be happening down there. There could be all kinds of things um, that could be easily addressed if caught early. So please, please, heck, if you need somebody to go with you and you're local to me, I will go with you. If that is what you need to
Mhm.
get you in there and get looked at, please call a friend, call me, call a relative, if that's what it takes to get you there. But it is so important to take care of your health.
That is so important. That's so good. Chrissy, what's one word or phrase that you would like to share to encourage women who are currently in treatment or who have faced roadblocks in their process? I think I forgot to ask you if you came across any challenges or roadblocks. So if you want to add that in there, feel free.
I had I had a little bit of difficulty early on. I didn't realize, because you wouldn't think this was the case, but that as a patient, that you would have to advocate for yourself medically as much as you end up having to, and having to really speak up and make it known that you have a question or you're unsure about something, or even that you disagree with something that has been decided. Um, that is hard for us to do. I think we kind of look at the doctor, that's the expert. But again, trust me, you know your body, you know when things are right, you know when things feel right or don't feel right. So I would absolutely speak up. But for me, it really does come down to getting through all of this. Um, I found out that kind of, and I think this may be true for many humans, but what you choose to do with it is up to you. But to me, I discovered that my spiritual calling really is fostering hope and joy in other people. And the way that I do that, I mean, I have several ways to do that, but I realized that to do it, I had to do it in myself first, which is where my little mantra, choosing hope daily, comes from. Um, you cannot uh, effectively get through treatment without some hope, without some light, without some idea that better things are to come. If you can get through this, you can keep going. One of the things I clung to too was the idea of a lotus blossom. If you don't know, the lotus starts out in the mud. I mean, just like fully in the mud. And it has to get through all of that mud to get through the surface of the water to bloom. And so the other thing I always told myself was no mud, no lotus. And I knew that if I could get through all of that, that lotus was going to be an amazing, amazing thing. But I had to get through the mud. And so I thought, well, if
Mm,
I choose hope, if I keep going, we're going to get there. I'm going to get through the mud. We're going to have this awesome, amazing flower that encompasses so many things, including my advocacy, a new view outlook on life, new friendships and relationships, etc. So choose hope anytime you can. Please choose hope. And if you have a hard time finding it or choosing it, find people that can help you do that, who can help you, get to that place. Um, it's just so important, and it will take you a much longer way through this journey. And it's almost, in a way, it's just even more fulfilling when you come out the other side.
yes, yes. Oh, that's good. So I hope that you all will do that. Not just the people watching, Hopefully you'll share this. With my other business, I always say if you hear something that resonates with you, reach up and grab it for yourself, but don't keep it to yourself. Share it out because you never know who's going to benefit from it. So that right there, choosing hope daily, and I love the analogy with the lotus flower. So, oh my gosh. Um, I want to hear how we can contact you. Thank you both. Tamara, hello, sis, says, thank you both for sharing this information. Lindsay asks, did you get your son vaccinated? Like,
Absolutely. He
yes,
did last month, Lindsay.
last month. And she says, yes, have to stay positive. This was a great interview. Thank you so much. Um,
Thank you.
hey, Sarah. And she said, awesome. Awesome. I'm thinking about your son being vaccinated. So, my last question. What I loved when I met you was that we have the creative arts in common. I was like, wow, we have actually a whole lot of things in common that we learned. That's personal. That's not even cancer related, y'all. It's just amazing how we always say cancer is like we end up a part of a club that we didn't want to be, that we don't want to be a part of necessarily, but we are so grateful and so glad that we are because of the amazing people that we get to meet and get to do life with and do things with. Um, and so when I started Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom, it's the prayer that got me through. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to accept the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And being that I come from a background of the arts from second grade all the way through college, I wanted to use it as a form of therapeutic expression. Um, Nancy says Christy has such a great spirit. Yes, she does. I've loved it ever since I met her. I'm so grateful. Grateful for the connection. Shannon Ralph introduced us. I'm so grateful that she did. So, my creative art question for you, because that's one of the things that we do. We bring awareness through creative arts, and so we have different things that we love to do creatively. What are some of the creative ways that you what are some creative things that you do in your life? I know you mentioned theater. Do you like to do any creative arts today? And if so, what do you like to do, and how do you foresee? I know we talked about some things, but how do you foresee you incorporating it in as part of your advocacy?
Oh, goodness. Okay. Um, so
I know that one
I,
was sprung on you.
it's all good. I do lots of different things. I have been for a good many years. I like to call it a paper artist. So it's not just necessarily scrapbooking or card making, although I do those things. But I actually do, and I brought an example because you had warned me. But like this is a little pine cone, but it's all made out of paper. And so, like,
Oh
I do like
wow.
these at Christmas, especially. So, this is all paper. So, I do things like that. But I will say, of late,
Nice.
I have been part of my outreach has been sending snail mail because I love snail mail. And there's something about that when you get a card from somebody that it's just really special that they took the time out and
Mm-hmm.
did that because nowadays we always text or email or video chat and all good things, but there's something about receiving that, and so I have been hand making cards and sending them out to various people. Shannon runs a program where with Teal
Mm-hmm.
Diva where she'll say please write these people a card, and they may not be somebody and you have to just kind
Mm-hmm.
of think about what message do they need, what encouragement do they
Yes.
need. And so this is a Christmas one, but just an example of um, of a card. It
Nice.
goes, let's see, it goes that way. There we go. Um,
Wow.
and I love doing that because it's fun to customize it for somebody. Um, but it also kind of gets my creative juices flowing too as I put things together. And So that is
Yes.
definitely something I do. Ultimately, with, along with advocacy, and we sort of talked about this, I would love to explore sort of more theatrical, maybe presentations of people's personal stories, or and I mean that could be,
Hmm.
how they found out about cancer, or frankly too, it doesn't even have to be about cancer, but
Hmm.
just human stories that we could somehow. My goal is to somehow sort of get those together and maybe use them as a basis of like a fundraiser night or something like that, because my background is in acting, and so I
Yes.
still love that and enjoy it, and would like to somehow make use of that. So um, creative people don't stop creating, we just find different ways to have that
That's
output,
right.
and to, yeah, yeah, we
That is
do.
so true. We have the Whispers of Joy. It's a workshop where we have people write cards too, or people have mailed them in to us to give out as well. And so I love that you're doing that. I love your cards. Feel free if you want to ever send us some to give out as well. You have also mentioned we have what we've done in the past is what's called the Teal Cafe. It's an acronym. I love acronyms. It's to represent therapeutic expressions and artistic letters. And so I'm hoping 2024, baby, that's coming around the corner, that you all, this will not be the first time that you see Keesha and Christy together doing something. I'm believing that we're going to bring that to life. Exactly what she's talking about is something that I've done on a smaller scale, but I am excited, excuse me, and looking forward to us putting our minds together and bringing it to our community. That's been my heart for so many years, and sometimes you just have to wait for the right people to come around to make it a reality. And so I'm believing that this is one of the reasons why God has put us together. I know Shannon had that in mind when she introduced us, because we both have that theater background. I'm excited. Y'all just don't know how therapeutic that is. Not just for um the performers, or who hopefully will be cancer survivors, but for the audience, the people who get to see. It's a therapeutic exchange. It's a cathartic experience that it's just amazing. So I'm looking forward to that. Tamara says that's lovely and original. Speaking of your card, and it is. I love it. I love how it looks like it spins in the middle. Claudia Perez Favela says, "Hi, Christy Foster Chambers," and she put the to represent the Tim White. Love it. Is she one of our survivor friends too?
She is a survivor in oh no, Claudia, in California.
Wow,
I have to think
nice to
about that.
meet you, Claudia. Thank you for watching. Thank you, ladies, for watching. I know we are over time. I really, really am so grateful and thankful for you sharing your story. I know that there's someone that can watch this and pull something from it that will enrich your lives. And I hope you all not will not just keep it to yourself, that you will share this out with someone else. This will be reposted, so make sure that you check out the repost. And before we go, at the bottom of the screen, I've been it's been up there, y'all. So hopefully you've taken the time to write this information down. I'm gonna put it here so you can contact Christy. Choosing Hope Daily. That's today's episode. The name of today's episode. That's her theme. That is her mantra. All right. You can also go to survivor.org and see her story there. Like, that is, I'm gonna put it also in the comments so that you can click on it. You can go to survivor.org/stories /Christy. And there are other cervical cancer survivor stories. But go there and read her story, but share it out. Okay. Somebody else needs to hear her story. All right. And then if you want to contact her, you can email her at the lotus and the elephant at gmail.com. Another story how we have so much in common, but I'm gonna leave that there. So
Oh,
email her at the lotus and the elephant at gmail.com. You never know. You might need um her encouragement or something that she shared that you might want to encourage her in return. Say thank you for sharing your story. Reach out to her on Facebook. Reach out to her and encourage her back. Okay. And so I want to say thank you all for coming out to hear our special guest, Christy Chambers, sharing her story, Choosing Hope Daily. And I hope that you will join us again for another Survivor Speaks series. We have more to come, and you'll see one coming up tomorrow. So excited, and one of our special guests. So make sure you check it out. And any final comments, Christy, before we go?
no, just thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. I am thankful for you. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.